Jeff Rail. This is my screening room. This is the staircase down to the screening room. It's underground. On down into the screening room area, we have what most people have in their home screening rooms, which is racks of DVDs and Blu-rays. And I've got about 3,000 here, but this screening room differs in that we're not just showing video projection and digital projection, in that for the past 35 years I've built this screening room and collected 16mm and 35mm motion picture films. I only had 16mm films, and at that point I had probably over 400 16mm feature films, each taking up 2 to 3 reels. And if I hadn't collected them, they would have ended up in a city dump buried into the ground. So, and we have a permanently mounted to the concrete 35mm projector, which is the one that I took out of the Thomasville Drive-In back in about 1987 or 88, late 80s. I went to a drive-in theater going out of business and scavenged their 35mm projector, and it was at the Thomasville Drive-In, Thomasville, South Carolina, and brought the projector home. My dad and I stripped it, put new bearings in it. It was a 1945 projector. This is where I hand inspect motion picture film. They're hand rewinds, and when I first get a film in, whether it's 16 or 35, I have to put it on here and thread it up, and I'll demonstrate that in a minute. And I have to put my fingers on either side of the sprocket holes with a white glove, and then very carefully wind it through inch by inch. Even if it's 2,000 feet of film, which lasts about 20 minutes, I might spend 2 days going through the film looking for torn sprockets, bad splices, tears, anything like that. And if I find them, I have to repair them, splice them, put sprocket repair tape on them, which is what I do in my Rail Archive home business. Is I do it for myself and for other people, restore motion picture films, both 16 and 35, which are damaged to the point that they can't be run through a projector without jamming or tearing up. This is the film vault where I have all of my 35mm motion picture film stored. It's climate controlled and temperature controlled. We built this room in the mid-90s because I ran out of space to put my films. And 35mm film I started really collecting at the beginning of the 90s, and at one point I had about 300 35mm feature films, which basically filled up every single rack, every single space you saw in here, and then some. As far as the rarest thing I've got in the whole basement, right here, in the whole screening room, this print of The Sound of Music. And I said, it can't be. You can't have a 3-strip Technicolor print of Sound of Music. They didn't make them, you know, and yet here it is, you know. And I'm like, nobody's going to believe this. And I started calling my collector buddies in Wilkesboro and Concord and so forth, people that had been collecting with me for decades. I said, guess what I've got? I've got a 3-strip Technicolor Sound of Music print. And they're just like, yeah, what else you got, Jeff? I mean, what are you calling about? You know, and no, seriously, it's a twin screen. It was the sharpest thing you'd ever seen in your life. And the most gorgeous color. You'd never seen Sound of Music on video or television looking like this. And they were just dropping their jaws. And they were going like, what the hell is it? I said, it's a British print, you know. And they're like, holy crap. And I've since found out that there's probably 3 British prints in all of America. And that's it.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
So that's why that one I probably won't sell, you know.
Never.
And if I did, I could probably retire and go to Tahiti and live off my my wealth from having sold that. I pretty much got everything I ever wanted collecting wise. Now there's still some things. I still scan eBay every other day, and occasionally something will pop up and I'll say, holy crap, and I'll spend too much money, you know.
No.
And get it. And but what I found on eBay recently is where 5 years ago everybody was doing away with their film collections, selling them off and going with Blu-ray and high-definition projectors because they're saying, like, film's dead. I can see just as good a picture on these new refined pictures and stuff. People who have the money, who are starting out collecting now, are paying outrageous amounts of money for the junk film. And when something super good comes along, they're paying the price of a friggin' house, you know, for a print or something. I was talking to John the other day. I said, John, you sold off most of your collection except for a few things in my storage vault. I said, and you told, John always warned me like 5 or 6 years ago, you better sell your collection off, Jeff, or it's going to be absolutely worthless in about 10 years. And it's like now it's a collector's item regardless of condition, and especially 3-strip Technicolor, because it's a legend. People have heard about it, they've read about it, they've studied it in school, but they've never tangibly seen the actual fact. So they're buying chewed up prints that can't be projected just so they can put it on a rewind and look at it and say, wow, I've got a piece of Technicolor, 3-strip Technicolor in my hands like I used to study in school about. You know, what it is there's all of these new young people who have grown up, taken film courses, realize what film is, like film for the tangibles part of it. You know, this is film. You know, it's not ones and zeros on a.
Yeah, it's not streaming.
It's not digital stuff. This is actually something you can look at. You can hold it up to a light, and even if you don't have a projector to look at it, you can see the still frames and see what's happening in the image, even if it's not a projection.
Exactly.